Hello, Crazy Blessed buddy. Welcome to the Crazy Blessed Show. I'm Hannah Keeley, and we're going to dive in and find out today how you can be too expensive for the devil's budget. Sounds like a big claim, right? Well, yeah, it does, because we're supposed to. We just have to figure out how. Now, if you tuned into part one, you'll know that the devil tries to keep you, number one, he tries to keep the word from you, and then number two, he tries to distort the word if you get a hold of it. So those are his biggest weapons, we know through history, we know through the Bible, we know through all of these means that when you are illiterate, when you're uninformed, you will have to pay a price for it. It is too costly to be illiterate. You can't read the fine print. You don't know the advantages that you have. You don't know how to take territory because you don't know what is rightfully yours. You can't read it. You don't know. What you don't know will hurt you. It'll come up and bite you in the butt. So we're going to find out what we need to know in order to become too pricey for the devil to even mess with us. See, he wants to keep you from the word, and then he wants to distort the word. And he does that in so many clever, crafty ways. But we're going to get the whole truth now. So how do we do that? How do we get the whole truth? Well, let me show you something. In Hebrews 4:12, it says, "For the word that God speaks is alive and full of power, making it active, operative, energizing, and effective. It is sharper than any two-edged sword, penetrating to the dividing line of the breath of life and the immortal spirit, and of joints and marrow for the deepest parts of our nature, exposing and sifting and analyzing and judging the very thoughts and purposes of the heart." That is what the word does. See, the word isn't there to imprison us. It is there to transform us. The Bible is not to keep you in a prison of the do and do not and shall not and condemnation and judgment. That's not the purpose of the Bible. We'll often distort that. The enemy loves to distort it and make us think it is. But the Bible is there not to imprison us, but to transform us so that we can now become more like the likeness of Jesus, that it says we have authority to. We are joint heirs with Jesus. And how do we do this? Because we get in the Word, and it is alive, number one, and it is full of power, number two. It is alive, it is full of power. What else out there is alive and full of power? You are, my friend. You are full of power, and if you don't know how to access that power, you'll never know the freedom that comes along with using it. So when you have the word in you, the word will come out of you and show up in your life. And it does that because it's active, it's operative, it's energizing, it's effective. It is showing up in your life. You're looking into the word to find out about you, not about what you can point fingers at. Well, that person's doing it wrong, and that person's doing it wrong, and that person's doing it wrong. That's not what the Bible is for. The Bible is so you can look in the Word and learn how to change you. So now you can love that person, and that person, that person, that person. You can love yourself, which is sometimes the hardest task for so many people to do. But we have to know it starts with me. It starts with you. The Bible is there so that you can look in it and transform you. And if you don't know that, then you'll never live in that transformation. With that transformation comes power. There comes authority with that. And when you can live in that, that's when the devil says, uh-oh, she knows too much now. He tries to keep this knowledge from you. He tries to keep this information. I bet there's something that stood in the way from you watching this or listening to this. Or maybe there's something right now distracting you from it because the enemy does not want you knowing how to turn the tables and make him run with his tail stuck between his legs, not you. You don't need to be running from the devil. What if the devil was more afraid of you than you were of him? That's the truth, friend. He is terrified of you. You, armed with the word, terrifying. Because here's what I know. When you start speaking the word out of your mouth, then you're talking like God. When you put on the armor of God, the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation, when you start putting on the armor of God, you look like God. When you start walking out the word, you're walking like God. And I'm telling you, when you talk like God, look like God, walk like God, as far as the enemy knows, he can't see into the supernatural. You are God. as far as the enemy is concerned. Now don't go saying, Hannah said I'm God. You totally missed it, friend. You go back and listen to part 1. No, the enemy thinks you are because you're talking like him, you're walking like him, you're acting like it. It's funny, one of my younger daughters, as she was growing up, she looked exactly like me. She still does. She looks like me, has my features. She would look at baby pictures of me and think it was her. It's like, no, baby, that was your mom. But I'm telling you, when she talks like I talk, cracking the same jokes, walks like me, acts like me, people are like, oh my gosh, she's your mini-me. What if we could be God's mini-me's? Because that's when the enemy is terrified. Oh my gosh, she got a hold of the word. Now she's talking it. Now she's walking it. Now she's dressed like it. Oh no, I don't know what to do now. She's pulled the rug out from underneath me. I got nothing. The enemy just wants you to be scared. That's all. And when you know what's really behind that curtain, you're not scared anymore because you know he's got nothing. You have power and authority over him, not him over you. So check this out. If he can steal the word from you, he can do everything else. We already learned that in part 1. That's why John 10:10 says, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. His number 1 goal is to steal the word from you. If he can't steal it, he will distort it, because if he can do that, he can kill and destroy everything else in your life. So he does not want you to be armed with the word. So how do we arm ourselves with the word? Check it out, Matthew 16, 18 and 19. This is our rightful place, friend. I want you to lean in and listen. Okay, this is your rightful place. I will build my church. This is Jesus talking. I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So this is Jesus talking to us. He's like, look, I'm giving you the keys. Like, don't wait on me to come pick you up and take you on the ride of your life. I gave you the keys. Now get your butt in the car, turn it on, put your foot on the gas, and start working the word in your life. God has already done what he needs to do. It's like, God, do something about this. And I think sometimes God's looking at us like, no, you do something about this. I gave you my word. I gave you life in abundance through the sacrifice of my son, Jesus. Everything's been done. Now we have the keys. Where are we going to take the car? Are you going to sit in the passenger side and wait for God to show up and take you on a ride? I sure hope he does something about my money, about these bills. I hope God does something about my child, my teenager who's straying away from the church. I hope God does something about this sickness that's all in my bones. No, you do something. You take the keys, move your butt over to the driver's side. I love it when it says like Jesus is my co-pilot. Like Jesus is like, no, I already took the plane around. I already landed the plane, baby. I don't need to be your co-pilot. I have given you the word. There's your map. There's your pilot manual. Now, turn on the ignition and use it. Use the Bible. That's what it's there for. It's not there to gather dust or to have your daily devotion. I mean, that's good, but is it showing up in your life? Like, get in the word, study the word. I want to show you what this says in James 1. This is basically how to do this. So you're saying, okay, Hannah, how do I do this? I want it. I want to become too expensive for the devil's budget so that he won't mess with me anymore. See, I know if the enemy messes with me, I know too much. You mess with my health? Oh, I know what the Bible says about my health, and I will come get it back. The Bible says I will live long. The Bible says that I have abundance. The Bible says he will strengthen my bones. The Bible says that a cheerful heart does good like medicine. I can have this immune system. I can have this strength. I can have this energy. Don't you be coming after that. You coming after my money? Guess what? I know what the Bible says about my money. So sometimes the enemy just wants to make us lose our peace. He doesn't want your money. He doesn't want your money. He doesn't want your kids. He doesn't want your marriage. Some people are like, devil's after my kids. Devil's after my marriage. No, he's not. He's after your peace about your marriage, your peace about your money, your peace about your kids. If he can get you stressed out, he can do whatever he wants because he has stolen the word from you. When you're operating in stress and anxiety and overwhelm, you're not operating in truth. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever be anxious or overwhelmed. I get it. We're human. God gets it. He became human in the form of his son, Jesus, so he would know all of these human emotions. But we can't be dictated by our emotions. We can feel emotions. We can recognize them. We can be aware of them. But they don't have to direct our next step. Get this, friend. You either master your emotions or your emotions will master you. And when you let your emotions put you in that place where you no longer stand on the word, but you're running after something to fix it, you've lost. We can stand on the word and still operate with wisdom, with intelligence, with knowledge, because knowledge is power. But we cannot be mastered by our emotions. And that's just, you're playing into his hand when you do that. You're playing right into the devil's hand. It's like, yep, look at her, she's freaking out. She's panicked. All we had to do was like throw a little Instagram post at her. All we had to do was let her watch that little news story. All we had to do was give her a little bit of information. All we had to do was show her this picture. All we had to do was make her look into her checking account. All we had to do was like mess with her son a little bit. We got her. No, don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. That's a joke. The Bible is the truth. So when the enemy comes at you, that's when you stand on the word and you say, no, I know too much. You messed with the wrong woman. You messed with the wrong man. We know too much. We are crazy, blessed believers. We are crazy enough to stand on the word when the whole world runs away from it. We stand on it and it shows up in our life. So this is how we do it. Check it out. James 1, I'm going to start in verse 22. It says, be doers of the word, obey the message, and not merely listeners to it, but train yourselves into deception by reasoning contrary to the truth. Did you get that? There's so much right there. So much. Like that is like our verse of the day or our little like checkbox devotion. We're just listening to it. We're not doing it. So if we're just listening to it, what we are doing is we are being deceived by reasoning that's contrary to the truth. The truth shows up in action. The deception shows up in our reasoning. See, we can reason our way out of faith. We can reason our way out of strength, out of abundance, out of joy. We can reason our way. It's reasonable. It's reasonable to panic. It's reasonable to operate in fear. It's reasonable to do whatever the governing party says. Let's just follow protocol. Let's just be compliant. That's reasonable. We are not supposed to be reasonable believers. We are crazy blessed believers because we do the unreasonable. We're like, even when everything looks contrary, I'm still going to stand on the word because I am a doer of the word. I'm not just a hearer. I'm a doer of the word. That's how it shows up in your life. The next verse, 23, says, for if anyone only listens to the word without obeying it and being a doer of it, he is like a man who looks carefully at his own natural face in a mirror. For he thoughtfully observes himself and then goes off and promptly forgets what he was like. But he who looks carefully into the faultless law, the law of liberty. Remember what Frederick Douglass said? I quoted him in the first part of this series. He said that education is emancipation. It is light and liberty. That is just what the word says right here. That the Bible, the faultless law, is the law of liberty. It's freedom, friend. And is faithful to it, and he perseveres in looking into it, being not a heedless listener who forgets, but an active doer who obeys. He shall be blessed in his doing, that life of obedience. It would be like looking, like I carry around this little mirror with me, so like I'm going into like a meeting or I'm going to, see people, I'll flip open the mirror, right? And I'll look at my face. I'll see, okay, do I have lipstick on my teeth? Do I have like a booger sticking out of my nose? Like do I have like a chin hair sticking out? Yes, I'm just being truthful. You look into it. Now this would be like me looking into it. I smile really big. I have this huge piece of parsley right in between my two front teeth. I'm like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that is smoking hot. And I put away my mirror and I go into the meeting. But that's what we're doing when we just look into the word and not obey the word. The word is supposed to be that mirror that we look into and we are changed as a result. Notice, I don't find fault in other people. That's not the purpose of the word, is to pick and choose what I can feel good about today. The purpose of the word is we look into it and we are changed. Our mind is transformed. We have new knowledge, new information that changes how we show up. It shows up in obedience. It says in this last verse, if anyone thinks himself to be religious, piously observant of the external duties of his faith, and does not bridle his tongue, but deludes his own heart, that person's religious service is worthless, futile, barren. Friend, I'm telling you right now, this life of faith, this life of being a crazy, blessed believer, it's so far from religion. It's not religion that we seek, it's relationship we seek. We want to know the Father's heart more. We want to operate in the mind of Christ, just like the Word says we can. And we only do that by looking into the Word and saying, God, I'm looking into the Word now to see what in me needs to shift. And when you do that, when you start operating in the Word, that's when the devil gets scared. He's like, oh, no, 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 no. Now they know too much. Now they're wielding the weapon. See, the Bible is sharper than any two-edged sword, but here's the problem. We have the sword and we have no idea how to use it. Friend, if you're protecting your house with a sword, you don't want to learn how to use that sword when the enemy's breaking in and stealing everything you got. And he's messing with your kids and your money and your peace and your career and your ministry and your marriage and all the other things. You don't want that to be the time that you learn how to pick up the sword and use it. You need to know now, so that when the enemy tries to break in, you're standing there ready to go. Like, come at me, bro. Come at me. Come on. You want to play? You want to do this? Because then he's wait. She's got the sword, but now she knows how to use it. Now she knows how to slice apart bone from marrow. He'll turn and run because you have become too expensive for the devil's budget. When you know how to use the word, I'm telling you, friend, you are going to be blessed like crazy.